Social anxiety. Picture this. Muster enough courage to go to a party with a friend. Thought about what you're going to wear, pick something out, changed your mind on repeat all day. Can't seem to make a decision, and all of a sudden, a flood of thoughts rush your mind. I won't even know anyone there. I'm into different things. They probably won't even like me. I'll call my friend and tell them I don't feel well and I can't go. But you told your friend you would go, and you want to be the type of person who keeps their word. So you convince yourself, tough it out just this one time. You meet your friend and approach the party. You're about to walk in the door, and your friend looks at you and says, "This is going to be so much fun." She opens the door and you glance in. There are way more people than you thought there would be. You take one last deep breath and step inside. Immediately, everyone in the party simultaneously snaps their glare at you, and you stand there, paralyzed. You can't breathe, and while they all hold their gaze, you absolutely melt. That is social anxiety. To start, I'd like to make sure we're all on the same page here. How to explain social anxiety to those who don't have it. That's not an easy task. What would it feel like to walk down the street, count every single step you're taking, with the sole intent to line your steps properly so you don't trip when you step off of a curb? How about walking towards a door, perfectly in stride with someone coming from another direction? Do you plan to go through the door first? Did you open the door for them? Or is it easier to slow your pace, hoping to avoid the situation entirely? These are just typical day-to-day struggles of those who are socially anxious. Not to mention, having many thoughts like these simultaneously in public situations. Those who do not understand say things like, "Well, just don't think about the other people watching." While they mostly mean well, that option is not actually possible. It would be like if I told you, "Hey, don't think about an elephant wearing glasses." Guess what the first thing that pops in your head would be? That's right, the damn elephant. It's honestly very difficult to compare for those who do not have social anxiety, but I'm still going to try to connect those dots, as well as offer some practices to help handle your day-to-day. The other point of this discussion is to help those without this struggle to understand and be a little more compassionate. If you appreciate or enjoy this, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Also, comment below a social situation that makes you most socially uncomfortable. Let's begin by going back to that party. Turns out, the party's inhabitants were not staring you down in hopes of your demise. In fact, a lot of them were preoccupied with their own party experience. Some, ironically enough, may have been too busy dealing with their own anxieties to even notice yours. That is what behavioral psychologists call an irrational fear or expectation. To identify these irrational beliefs is typically one of the starting points of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. The main goal for CBT is to help the patient with the foundational problem for things like social anxiety disorder. Typically, that problem is a learned but hardwired automatic negative perception on things, meaning your mind can't help but flood you with negative thoughts when encountering most situations. It's very important to note that I am not a behavioral therapist. My videos are not a substitute for the real thing. That said, hardwiring a more positive outlook isn't a walk in the park. A typical practice in treating social anxiety disorder, or SAD, is called exposure therapy. You've probably heard people say, "Face your fears," and that is essentially what exposure therapy is. The thing to remember is that people with social anxiety are exposed to their fears every day, whether they want to be or not. Just jumping into exposing yourself to intense situations is actually a recipe for disaster. Exposure therapy is a slow-paced approach where you gradually expose yourself to these fears. A good place to start and one that I can absolutely condone, is called imaginative exposure. This starting point is how it sounds. Cut some time out of your day with intent of imagining yourself in situations that seem grueling. Picture them in the way you typically would. Visit these imaginations frequently, and eventually see yourself doing small things that could help normalize the situation. An example of this could be back at our party. A great starting point would just be to walk through the party with the intent of looking at it. If you remember correctly, it was the eyes on you that made you uncomfortable in the first place. It becomes logical that your own sight could possibly hold something that's empowering for you. Look at things and look at people. Not with the intent to humiliate, but to understand. Look at their posture, read their faces. How do they look? How do you think they feel? Your sight is a powerful tool in your journey to learn to deal with these anxieties. You must accurately deconstruct situations by looking at them, and eventually understanding what they are and what their purpose is. The next imaginative exercise is to approach someone and greet them. To start, you don't need to hold an entire conversation. Let the emphasis, as stated before, in your sight. Look them in the eyes. Nothing says, "I am here, I am not hiding," like looking someone in their eyes when speaking. Looking away is a sign of fear, and maybe that happens for the first few times in this exercise. That's fine. Try again and again until you can imagine a situation where you can accomplish this. From there, this therapy continues to gradually ask more of you, until eventually find yourself in real-world exercises. Scary, I know, but I also know that you are capable. This is not an easy road, but it's also not easy to live with social anxiety. You can pick to continue your struggle with it, or you can choose to struggle to overcome it. Important to note, the point is not to stop your fear. That's not entirely possible. The point is to build your courage. Be brave, so that when you encounter the monster, you have the weapons to slay it. Remember that everyone can begin the imaginative exercises immediately, but if your anxiety is strong enough, I urge you to seek a professional's help before moving past that. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you know someone who's struggling, you think it would be beneficial, send them this video. I hope this discussion has helped. See you in the next one.